Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Dalton from the Petrol List, coming at you from an undisclosed location. I'm still on vacation, and you know what? Let me just show you real quick what we're working with here. Anyway, next I'm gonna be joining you from the studio. You know, there's a little bit of a lull in the action. There's no race this weekend, and I kind of always said I would take this opportunity to talk about different things in the car world, what different manufacturers are doing, or different automotive news and experience. But there is one Formula One related thing I wanted to talk about, so I figured I'd go ahead and make that video today. And that's a little bit more the personal side of Formula One, the human side, the drivers. And in this particular case, I do want to talk about Lewis Hamilton, because there have been a lot of questions out there on whether or not Lewis Hamilton is past his prime. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so before we dive in, I want to say that, you know, for a very long time, I've been a huge fan of automotive journalism. I grew up reading Road and Track, Car and Driver, Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords, Tuner, like you name it, I was reading it. And this is back in the day when there was just a whole host of different kind of cars coming out. Yes, that is a McLaren F1 on the same cover as the new, at the time, NB Miata. Heyday of automotive journalism, if you ask me. If you go to my site, www.thepetrolist.com, you'll see some articles that I wrote. Not writing as much anymore because people respond a lot more to videos than writing these days. But that said, I took a lot of notes, and this is going to be the first time I'm kind of reading a little bit from a script. Anyway, disclaimer, if you see me looking down a lot, that's why. Let's jump into it. People ask, and not, you know, to me, well, sometimes to me, but to, you know, other folks as well, is Lewis Hamilton past his prime? I don't think that's the right question to ask. I mean, if you look at him, he's physically fit. You can see moments of brilliance in his racing when he's motivated enough. But I think the real question is, can he get past the crap car and the terrible treatment from Mercedes when he finally gets over to Ferrari? So there's a mental aspect, kind of a mental, spiritual, emotional aspect of driving a race car, and you've got to drive it on the razor edge. You got to maintain speed and performance that really blurs the line between skill and reckless abandon. I mean, you really have to be on that edge, and to win, you've got to push the car beyond its peak and really flirt with tragedy, lap after grueling lap. And when I say tragedy, I mean it, especially when you're pushing a car to about 200 miles an hour. So that said, for the last, I don't know, 3 seasons, Mercedes has eroded Hamilton's trust and has produced, you know, a lackluster machine that has been so bad that the McLaren team, a client team, a child team of Mercedes, has succeeded in making its car the dominant force. They've proceeded in making the Mercedes team look like they're brand new at high-end racing. That's an embarrassment, number one. But number two, when you're trying to push a car, it's really hard to do. And, you know, George Russell will sometimes outlap Lewis Hamilton. Well, when you're racing, like I said, you're racing with your body, your mind, and quite frankly, your life. And so if Lewis Hamilton has to, you know, put it at the margin, you know how you see the Formula One cars with the wheels this close to the barriers? That's how you get those extra tenths of seconds that make your lap times faster, that overall make you win a race. And what is his motivation to put everything on the line for a team that's, you know, for the most part, been treating him like garbage for the last few years. We've all had crap jobs. Most of us wouldn't give a full 8-hour shift to a company that we think has been sliding us for a month. Like, we would be slacking on the emails and, you know, the whatever customer service responses or whatever your industry is, and we'd be looking to, you know, to jump ship, and we do it quickly. He's been there long suffering for the last, you know, 3 seasons. So let's not get it twisted. Lewis Hamilton is leaving for Ferrari because Mercedes treated him like crap. Mercedes isn't treating him like crap because he's leaving for Ferrari. So the thing is, if Lewis Hamilton can get 100% of his confidence back at Ferrari, meaning he's going to be comfortable putting his life and well-being in the hands of Ferrari engineers, Ferrari leadership, and management, it'll be one of the greatest stories in motorsport history. If he can't, then in my opinion, Mercedes is going to go down in history as one of the biggest villains in motorsport. And it's because they didn't know how to treat one of the most experienced and successful racing drivers in the history of their sport. There's one more thing to talk about, and that is, was Lewis Hamilton wrong for making the announcement that he was leaving for Ferrari so early? I don't know the fine print of the contract. I don't know if he could have waited until mid-season or even toward the end of the season. But he made it known that he was leaving for Ferrari ahead of the 2024 season. That's like telling your live-in girlfriend of the last 15 years that you're going to leave her for a younger or more attractive Italian woman, and then saying, but we need to keep this lease together for the next year. I mean, she's liable to, I don't know, put arsenic in your Fruit Loops, cut your brake lines, or just generally make your life miserable, even if she was the one to blame for the breakup of the relationship. I'm not saying that there's no flaws from Lewis Hamilton. You know, everybody's human. Behind the scenes, maybe there's stuff going on that I don't know about. But I think that there is something just a little bit more sinister. Not sinister, maybe that's too strong of a word. A little more aggressive or passive aggressive, because he is, you know, a 7.5-time world champion and he's leaving, versus just a number 2 driver. They don't want him to be privy to any of the new technology that's coming out. The amount of control that they do have over the Formula One cars, there's the possibility that they are turning down, you know, the power or the technology in his car, causing him to slip behind George Russell. And, you know, perhaps they're trying to prove a point that and make people believe that he is past his prime. But you gotta really, you know, sit back and think, we really won't know how well he's going to perform at Ferrari until he gets there, because right now Team Mercedes is stacked against his success. And I also think they're stacked against their own success. Of the top 5 teams on the grid, I think Mercedes knows the least about what they want next. All right, that's it. That was the video. I will see you probably from the studio next week. All right, I'm out.
If everything's equal, we don't know how good the cars are, but in pure driving terms, is Lewis Hamilton still very much in that mix, as dangerous a threat to you as those others?
Of course he is. I mean, he's been one of the greatest drivers ever in the sport. So for sure, if he has the car to do it, he can fight for the title again. But that's the same for George, and the same for Charles. It's the same for Lando. You know, if you give them a car which is capable of winning a championship, they can. But it's also about when you have the car, then you know, the pressure comes, you cannot afford mistakes, or at least, you know, you cannot afford big mistakes. And that's a little bit of a different pressure you have, but I'm confident that once these guys, they get into a role like that, it is all possible. I mean, they all have the talent to do so.